Hey everyone, welcome to episode 140 of Tuesdays with Perry. We're going to get Perry on the line in just a second. Thanks for joining me today. There's breaking news. And that breaking news is there's a ceasefire for the war in Iran. I'm having a little technical problem. Bear with me. Let's see if we can get Perry talking. We're going to be talking about the war in Iran and the ceasefire. Let's see if we can't get Perry. There he is. Hey Perry, how's it going?
Going great today, Rudy. How about you?
Good. We're doing good here. Just trying to figure out what the snafu happening here, or trying to get everything straight. Okay, so let's start off with the breaking news here. Ceasefire in Iran. I don't know if you know the particulars. It's supposed to be a 2-week ceasefire. What is your take on prospects for supposed to be 2 weeks? Think we're getting gamed by Iran or what?
Well, let's look at it from both sides of this equation. Trump had really put himself in a box here, and he's looking not as much at the polls as he is at the markets. And I don't want to say he's panicking, but he knows he's fighting somebody that they're going to fight to the death. They're not going to surrender. And therefore, I've got to do something to change this mojo. And he gave them the ultimatum. The beautiful thing about Trump is, when he says he's going to do something, he is going to do it. And with that having been said, they had no way to defend against it. It was either yesterday or possibly Saturday. I'm sure it was the Israelis, the Mossad, found out that much of the leadership of the Iranian Republican Guard was held up in some underground bunker. And Bibi got on the phone with Uncle Trump and said, hey, you need to drop a couple of bunker busters on this location. So the Iranians knew what was coming tonight if they didn't come to the table. That's what Trump needed. Now, let's look at the other side of the equation. We can't trust them. And the only arrow left in Trump's quiver right now is, okay, you call my bluff, I'm going to put you back in the Stone Age. That's what we have as the leverage to hold them accountable to opening up the straits tonight. We're already past the deadline, so the first tankers and cargo ships should be sailing through now. And, news media isn't saying anything. We'll see. Will it work? Will it lead to a true and full armistice? I don't know. I would say probably a 60-40 opportunity in our favor, but it goes back to what I just said a couple of minutes ago. We can't trust these people. And unless they know that they're going to go meet Allah, if they don't do this, it's the only thing we have to use against them in leverage. So let's see. They've got 2 weeks to work out all the details. Right now, if I'm Trump, I feel pretty good. We have spared the loss of life. You know, they were going to use human shields. That wasn't going to stop us. And it could have gotten really ugly really fast. So let's hope that whatever negotiations are going on that we don't know about, they're going to want to stay in control of Iran. They're not going to walk away or fly away with briefcases full of greenbacks. They're going to want to stay where they are. Under what terms? All we know is that 10-point condition list that Trump put in place. Is that going to be enough? It may have to be. So we'll see. We'll see.
Right. So their missiles, as we speak, there's still missiles flying at Tel Aviv. It looks like they had one major impact, but there were several missiles fired. Most were intercepted. So what's your take on that? Do you think they're going to desist? They might open the Strait of Hormuz, but do you think they're going to stop? Is there going to be a cessation of missile firing towards Israel in particular? And do you think the Israelis are going to abide by the ceasefire as well?
Well, there you have it. If they continue to launch on the Israelis, well, the Israelis aren't going to sit back and say, "Okay, please let me have another." They're going to continue to take out leadership wherever they can, and so I think these are the last salvos. Look, you have a civilian government that is negotiating with the United States of America right now. And as we said on the last podcast you had me on 2 weeks ago, they're not in control of the IRGC. The IRGC runs everything in that country with the blessing of the Ayatollah and, to a lesser extent, and by extension, the civilian government. The civilian government doesn't tell the IRGC what to do. They're different and separate from the Iranian standard military. And they're the ones that are carrying out these dastardly deeds. They're going to have to stop, because if they don't, it may all be for naught. But the bottom line is, as far as Trump is concerned, as long as the Straits of Hormuz are opened and those tankers start going through at a minimum of 100 a day, like they were saying on Special Report tonight, you're going to see the price of oil drop pretty quickly. Now, it's not going to get back down to $60, $65 overnight, but we're not going to be in triple digits, And I'm here in Florida. I've been used to paying for my behemoth. How many times has your audience heard me say I use high test? Okay. Up until a month and a half ago, I was paying for premium gas $2.75, $2.73 a gallon. Today, when I filled up with my discount at BJ's, I was paying $4.12. So I'm feeling it. I'm not happy about it. It is what it is. So hopefully tomorrow it'll start going in the opposite direction. We'll see.
Well, already we have I don't know what's happening here. Already we have US oil prices down even before the markets open. Already we have the oil prices down 14%. So that's something to be considered.
Yeah, so we're below triple digits.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure over the course of 2 weeks it'll continue going down.
Correct.
So we'll just
yeah. Well, it's going to go down, but what transpires over the next 14 days will determine how quickly it goes back to normal.
Right.
Normal's not $75 a barrel or $80 a barrel. Normal is somewhere between 65 and 60. And if everything works out, it's going to be a lot less 6 months from now. A lot less.
Yeah. We could only hope.
That's right.
All right. So, just have to bear with me here. There we go. I'm trying to get levels up here.
You
So
got it.
can you
You're
hear me?
juggling a lot of balls tonight,
Yeah.
Rudy.
But you can hear me okay, correct?
Yeah, I got a new earbud because you were saying maybe it's your earpiece, Perry. So
Yeah.
I went out and I bought a new JBL. Went away from my Bose. Now the problem is the son of a bitch won't stay in my ear. So you gotta work with me here.
Yeah, we'll try to figure it out on the fly here. All right, so we talked about oil prices and the ceasefire. Something else we want to talk about is the feckless Europeans and why they're not involved at all. Do you think there's a future for NATO?
I'm glad you asked that question. There's always going to be a NATO. Whether or not the United States is part of it is a whole separate question. You have the Canadians are part of NATO, so it's not going anywhere. But without the United States, what is it? It's worse than or less than a paper tiger. And the proof is in the pudding with how our so-called allies have handled this situation. I didn't like the fact that Trump asked them to help us, but I disliked their response. Their response was pretty much, hey, you didn't tell us what you were going to do, so now you can take this and stick it up your ass. Okay. Right. Like Trump said, we will remember. We will remember. And, all it takes is a sheet of paper and a one-line sentence that the United States henceforth is no longer interested in being a part of the North. I'm going to say what the New York Times said. The North American Treaty Association. So, as of effective 1 year from today, you Europeans are on your own. See ya. We're going to turn our interests to the shield of America's. And we're going to focus on helping our brethren in Central and South America. And we're going to have American bases all over, both sides, both the Atlantic and the Pacific of South America. And we're going to build their economies, and we're going to make them powerhouses because they're in our hemisphere. You guys can go drink some Chardonnay. And that's what that's my goal. I would love to see it because I have seen, starting with the Operation Desert Storm, everybody talks about how our NATO allies were right in the foxholes with us. Yeah, the Brits sent a division, which is 10,000 troops. The French sent a couple of destroyers and their air force, part of their air force, and the Belgians and the Dutch, and on and on and on. They all sent as few as a dozen soldiers to represent their countries. But who did the fighting? Other than us, the only ones who were really in the foxholes were the Brits, and they only had 10,000 in comparison to our 325,000. Okay? I remember that. Okay? So imagine if the Europeans were to drag us into a war right now with the bear. Right? How many troops do they have even on their own front porch? They don't have fighting armies that can sustain a full blunt attack from the Russians. And yet, what are they trying to do? They keep poking the bear in the eye. So, what do we need them for? The Soviet Union died 38 years ago.
Right.
We put a fork in them. What's left of what was the Warsaw Pact is part of NATO now. You guys, go take care of your own business, and we're going to worry about our side of the Atlantic and you want to get together and play war games every year like we do in Southeast Pacific with our Asian allies, yeah, we'll do that with you. But we're not going to be a part of you anymore. We're not going to pay your freight anymore. We're done. America first.
Yeah. Yeah, I happen to agree with that. The issue, though, is of course Russia. I mean, the NATO was designed to be a bulwark against Soviet expansion and the Warsaw Pact. But we don't. That doesn't exist anymore. Russia is not the Soviet Union, and it seems that NATO keeps getting us into trouble that we might not want to be in Russia and in other places as well. I mean, why we were involved in Libya, who knows? That ended up getting some very important Americans killed in
That's
Libya
right.
because of that ridiculousness. And Muammar Gaddafi had given up his weapons of mass destruction. And
what did that and what did Saddam's death teach all of the Arab League nations?
Right.
Don't ever grovel at the feet of the Americans and give them what they want, because they will take your head. That's exactly the message that Hildebeest sent when we did what we did to Muammar Gaddafi. Look, he was no angel,
Right.
but he was defanged. We defanged him. He voluntarily turned over his weapons grade weapons of mass destruction. He turned them over.
Right.
And once that happened, sayonara. So that's exactly what we have over time taught the Arabs.
Right.
We can't be trusted. We can't be trusted.
Right. Absolutely. All right, let's move on from the Europeans there to I know you wanted to talk about this, so do I. General Soleimani's niece and grandniece and daughter apparently also are living the high life here in the United States, while condemning the United States. All of this using American issued green cards. And so I guess they're not wearing burqas.
They're not wearing much of anything.
Yeah.
I've never, well, I shouldn't say this. They're all Persians. I've never seen such gorgeous women in my life. And to think that they're behaving this way, knowing this is going back home to Iran. I don't care if they're the blood of Soleimani. Soleimani can't protect them. He's in bed with his 72 virgins right now.
Yeah.
So how is it you can behave like some pavement princess in a country you are not a citizen of, and think you can go back to a country who treats women like cattle and not pay a price for behaving the way you have? Rudy, I don't understand it. I don't understand it to save my life. And I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen now that Marco has pulled their green cards from them. They're probably going to beg to be able to go live in exile in Saudi Arabia.
Maybe, or France.
Or Dubai.
Or France.
Yeah, or France, right.
Maybe
right.
France. Yeah, that's an interesting situation. It shows the hypocrisy, really, of the ruling class, right. And that using religion to oppress their people on a variety of different levels, while acting Western and going to Western countries, and the daughters and grandnieces and whatnot wearing miniskirts and still condemning America, but taking advantage of all the privileges. Also, you wanted to critique my viewpoint, and I didn't really know what you meant by that, because it's not that I don't support Trump's policy position. I don't know if I would have agreed with it on moral grounds. I don't like war, but I don't know the intelligence. I've been guessing the reason Trump made these decisions is he saw something in intelligence that told him it has to be now.
Right.
And so if I saw the intelligence, would I agree? I am pretty much no war. And one of the points I wanted to make was a lot of his supporters feel a little bit stabbed in the back, a little bit betrayed because he said no more wars. Is this a war?
Well, he said no. He said no more endless wars, no more forever wars.
Right.
He did not want, and I'd have to go back and listen to his speeches again. He did not want us interfering with other nations' politics by way of a gun. Okay? But let me get to the point I was trying to make when I texted you earlier this evening. I don't think it's necessary for you every day to say to me and the rest of your audience, you know, I was never for this. Because you and I have stated that both on Tuesdays with Perry, as well as your daily show. You said it, repeat it, you're saying it habitually now. Don't. It's not necessary. None of us wanted this. You think Trump wanted this? Trump didn't want this. He's a deal maker. He doesn't want anyone to die. But if someone's going to die, it's going to be you. It ain't going to be me. And that's his attitude. So you laid it out perfectly. Neither one of us know what are in his daily briefing reports, intelligence briefing reports. But whatever was there was obviously severe enough based on the history. Okay, for 47 years, we've heard the chant "Death to America." For 45 years, we've heard them tell us, America's the great Satan. We're going to kill the great Satan. Israel is, as Bibi always says, the little Satan. They're the ones that are easier for the Iranians to manage a war with. Okay? Up until now, and by now I mean the last 10, maybe 15 years, they didn't have the capability to enrich uranium, and even once having enriched the uranium, be able to deliver a nuclear weapon anywhere, including the United States, but not limited to. Now, since the war, what has been proven to us? They themselves handed a piece of paper to Steve Weiskopf and said, we got 900 kilograms of yellow cake that's highly enriched, not weapons grade yet, but we're only a week away. Now what have you got to say? And this is the reason why Trump said, we're going now. Because when you're at the point, I'm talking about the Iranians, when you're at the point where in less than a week's time, you can have a minimum of one bomb. We already know they can deliver that with an ICBM that can reach 3 or 4 capitals in the European continent. They tried to reach out and touch us in Diego Garcia 2 weeks ago, okay? They're sending all the messages they can, just like Hitler did before he went into the Sudetenland, okay? Every message they've sent for the past 47 years is, when we have the means, we will have the will. And every single president on both sides of the aisle has punted because they didn't have the nutsack to do what needed to be done when it would have been easier to do it. Going all the way back to Mr. Peanut. This whole chapter of almost 50 years never had to happen. But Mr. Peanut thought, well, they're nice people. We can negotiate. Well, he found out what Neville Chamberlain found out 50 years earlier. Okay, so coming back to you, don't, and this is just me as your dear friend, you don't have to qualify it because none of us, I can't speak for every member of your audience, but I don't think any of us wanted this to happen. But if we're going to do it, like you said, we're going to get in, get it, and get out. And that's what tonight was about. Tonight was all about you don't come to the table, you don't agree to these terms that we've already signed on to with the Pakistanis. We're already willing to give you 2 weeks to regroup, provided you open the straits 100% and you don't threaten anybody. They said, okay. Now let's see.
What?
Because let me tell you something, just as easy as it was for Trump to have those B-52s turn around and head back fully loaded to Diego Garcia, he can just as easily call them back.
Yep.
And that's what he's told them. He's told them that.
What about ground troops and those sorts of objectives? What about taking Carg Island temporarily? What happens if this moves on? Should we just stay with air power and schwack them until they capitulate? Or do you think it's worth it to insert, hopefully we won't have to go there, but, what's the end game militarily? Just keep bombing? Or do you think we should risk American soldiers either on Carg Island or many of the others, Lavak or many of the other islands there in the Strait, or in the bluffs of the Hormuz Strait there on the Hormuz. What happens if the ceasefire fails?
Well, if the ceasefire fails, all bets are off. I don't see how it's possible for us to win this with air power alone. No war has ever been won through nothing but air power. Air power can certainly discombobulate and can completely destroy the will of your opponent to fight. But your opponent is still going to fight if he sees you coming at him with a gun. And so I'm hoping it holds, but let's again address that. If it does hold, we're giving them 2 weeks to regroup. We're giving them 2 weeks to position themselves in such a way that they could shut down the straits for the next 6 months. And by shutting it down, I mean nobody gets in or gets out. And now you have no choice but to send in ground troops. You're talking about casualties. Now, I saw with Saddam, the U.S. media was saying how we're not prepared as a fighting force. We don't have the kind of army, battle-tested army that Saddam has. In the meantime, Schwarzkopf made a mockery of everything the press said because I think it was 43 days, the war was over. We lost, if I'm not mistaken, less than 500 people. It's still 500 too many, but a lot of it was from friendly fire. We lost a lot of people from friendly fire. And that's part of the fog of war, and that's why you don't want to do that. Let's hope we don't have to. But if we do, you're talking about a lot of A-10 Warthog sorties. You're talking about a lot of Blackhawks. You're talking about a lot of Chinooks, a lot of probably 10th Mountain Range, a lot of 82nd, the Marines. because when we give the order to go, it's all in. It's not like what we did in Vietnam, where we gradually brought up the numbers because the enemy was putting up such a fight, and our ally, the South Vietnamese, were so incompetent. We had no choice but to incrementally increase the numbers, which is why it was a 9-year war. We're not going to do that. I just want this over. And if they have been so severely beaten, I'm talking about physically beaten, that they're willing to give up their goal of having a nuclear weapon. They're willing to stop bullying their neighbors. They're willing to allow free and unfettered passage through the Hormuz Straits. If they're willing to come back into the community of nations, and I don't see all of this happening, okay? I'm not looking at this through rose-colored lenses. But if they're willing to do these things, and the other part of the 10-point plan that Trump has, if's a big word, if they're willing to prove that they're serious about stopping everything they've been trying to do for 47 years, then we have to take them at their word. Yeah. And my concern is still with the Iranian people. What is this going to mean long term for the Iranian people? Are they in fact armed? Now we learned today that we did in fact supply small arms to the Iranian people, but supposedly it never got to them. This is very typical of the bizarre, and by bizarre I don't mean crazy. Bizarre meaning when you go to a bazaar to buy things.
Right.
Okay. It is the bizarre nature of the Middle East. You could be Israeli. You could be Kuwaiti. You could be Iranian. It's all about making the best deal for you. And that is a behavior that is very, very much part of that part of the world. And so, the Kurds saw an opportunity to take advantage of Uncle Sam, because Lord knows we've taken advantage of them multiple times in multiple wars. And they pretty much left, these individuals who want to be part of Iranian militias who could rise up against the government. They left them bare-assed. And so what are you going to do? It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see. Hopefully this 2 weeks will hold. And I'm kind of against ground troops. I know if we have to do it, we have to do it. My problem is, are we going to allow, because what's happening now is the Iranians are extorting ships. It's not a toll. They're saying you can go through the Strait of Hormuz if you pay, and we won't blow you up. But it's the threat of violence. So that's extortion. So are we going to allow this regime to hold extortion? And hopefully any sort of peace plan will hold them to account if they ever try to do this again. That's one of my worries there.
That's exactly what Trump has said.
Yeah.
You're not going down this road again. I'm not going to let you.
Right. And I think that's good. So all the freaks, all the panicans that were supporters of Trump and all of a sudden started wringing their hands and clutching their pearls and wetting their pants, might have been ill-served echoing or parroting Democrat talking points when they voted for Trump. Really stupid. All right, let's move on to the last point here. You said Dems still don't get it. They aren't giving moderates, independents, and disaffected Republicans a reason to vote for them. Yeah, it seems like they're tone deaf. I don't understand unless I think the only reasonable candidate they have is Andy Beshear, because apparently we also have Glenn Youngkin now is throwing his hat in the ring on our side. So our field is filling up nicely, and all they have is Andy Beshear.
Well, look, the way the Democrats have been behaving, you know, shall I go all the way back to 2016? I could, but certainly for the past 2 years, the way they've been behaving, there is no cure for TDS, and for them it seems to be terminal, and that only speaks to the hardcore base. Those are the wild, crazy blue hairs that, people like us have said repeatedly, Trump could find the cure for cancer and they still wouldn't take it because Trump came up with it. Okay? Those are the people that Ro Khanna and Gavin Newsom and everyone who puts their puss on TV day in and day out representing the Democrat Party, that's all they're talking to. What do I mean by that? Can you name 3 policies they want people to vote Democrat for? You can't. What are they constantly saying? Trump is evil. We're going to impeach him if you put us in office. We're going to impeach members of his administration. We are going to go after them personally and convict them of crimes to humanity. That doesn't play to the disaffected Republican. That doesn't play to the independent who may have been Democrat at one time and has just been kicked out of a job by AI. That doesn't play to the kid who just took on $100, $150, $250,000 in school debt, going for a degree that they now can no longer use to earn a living. That doesn't wash. They have not learned that yet. You and I said this 2 years ago, and we were proven right. If the Democrats don't start talking about reasons to vote for them, they thought then and they think now the reason to vote for me is I'm going to impeach bad orange man. Okay. He's going to wear that like a medal the same way he wore the other 2 impeachments. What does an impeachment mean if you don't convict him? Now, the argument is if they get to 60 in the Senate, there is an excellent chance for conviction. But then you got to worry about whether or not Fetterman's still going to be there. Because if Fetterman's there, I don't see him voting to convict. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
But the problem with thinking this way as Republicans, Rudy, is what just happened to the last 2 years of the Trump administration. Everything he put in place in his first 2 years has now gone up in smoke. And the Democrats will burn this country to the ground if they get the chance to do it, because that's all they have. They've got nothing else. I said to you 3 minutes ago, name me 3 policies that they're running on to help the average American right now. Right. No, they're more concerned about illegal aliens and housing them and feeding them and educating their children. That's what they're interested in. They don't give a damn about Ma, Pa, Kettle America.
Right.
Not at all.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think they're sticking with the old playbook, culture warfare.
Yep.
And I don't, they're still coming down on the side of protecting trans people, but putting everybody else at risk. Right. They're still doubling down on protecting illegal aliens and trying to say that ICE's operations are illegitimate. Those don't play well with the American public.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I think they're just trying to wait out to wait for another culture change. I just don't see it. Like I said, if they don't put up a moderate and try to get moderates and independents back in the fold, you're not going to win with crazy, like you said, with crazy blue hairs and heroin addicts and illegal aliens. I don't see
Right.
it.
Right.
Especially if we push on election integrity like Donald Trump is doing, and even Stacey Abrams got into the mix and said, "I don't like you getting rid of mail-in ballots. How are we supposed to win?"
Well, you know, that's the whole reason why for the past 25 years they've been cheating, because that is the only way they can win. And this is the argument individuals such as yourself and I have been making to the less involved. I don't want to say less educated politically, but the less involved voters that we talk to as friends and family for the past 25 years. What are you thinking? Well, I just don't like Trump. Well, you know what? I've had a love-hate relationship with that son of a bitch for the past 45 years. I didn't like him when I shook his hand on the corner of Park Avenue when I was in college. He came across as a real asshole. He came across as an asshole then, and he's an asshole now. But he's my asshole, and he's getting things done.
Right.
He's getting things done. And that's what matters.
Yep.
That's what matters.
Absolutely. Like I said today, I'm more about policy than personality. And it's not just policy that you can outline and articulate, but you have to articulate to me a way that you're going to get this policy done. You have to have a plan to implement the policy. And
you hear that, John Thune? You hear that, John Thune?
You know what, Perry, I think, give me a last word. I think we're going to leave it there because I'm like juggling these tech problems. And so I'm a little worried that you're not sounding as good as you should.
Okay. And not only that, but my earpiece has already warned me it's going dead.
All right.
Let's just hope, let's pray that this ceasefire turns into a permanent peace. And if it does,
hallelujah.
Well, maybe Bad Orange Man has pulled another rabbit out of his hat yet again.
Right, and that would deflate all the panicans there.
Bingo.
I don't know what they would have to say. What are they going to do now?
Bingo.
All right, I appreciate you talking to me tonight, Perry. We'll reconvene next week.
Sounds like a plan, my friend. Look forward to it. Stay warm.
Yep. Take care, brother.
All right, buddy. Take care now.
See you.
Bye-bye.
All right, there goes Perry. Great to talk to him tonight. That was I was struggling there to get this technically going. Now, let's see, that's weird. See, that's weird now. Hold on. Yeah, so for some reason, when we were going through the meat program, my levels there were awful. And I couldn't get them up a lot. And I'm going through Safari now because when I first started, I couldn't get my camera or my mic working. Then I got my mic working, but the camera wouldn't work. So thanks for joining us tonight, episode 140 of Tuesdays with Perry. And we're going to reconvene next week. Thanks for joining me tonight. And we'll see you. Hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow. I do have to end early tomorrow. Other episode of Rudy's Revelation. I have to end it definitely by 11. So join me. I should go live at 10 a.m. See you tomorrow. Peace out.